everybody, and welcome back to another video. And first, I would like to say, I know it's been a while since I last uploaded, and I'm not uploading very often, so I'm very sorry, and I'll try to upload more. There's just been wonkiness in my schedule. So, basically, welcome to the first story time episode, because why not story time, huh? So basically, I'm just sharing cool things I have in my life as a story in a video. Again, sorry for not uploading so far. I hope you've been liking the other videos. It's been featuring all my friends, falling into water mostly. So yeah, let's just get into the story. So first off, sorry, I just heard rustling. So, first off, sorry, there's a pause there. I gotta stop something. So, happy April Fool's Day, yay! So what better day to start off a storytime series than April Fool's Day, huh? Hope everyone has been getting some great pranks. If you've been having some great pranks at your school, put it down in the comments below. And yeah, so let's get into the story. So, April Fool's Day. This happened today at school. So, yeah. And, everyone loves April Fool's Day, right? So what I did was I was playing this since last month, and I wanted the perfect time. So you know that game Bean Boozled? Not sponsored. So basically, if you don't know it, it's where it can be a game, it can just be eating jelly beans, but basically they're jelly beans, not sponsored, and, you spin a spinner, and it'll land on a type of jelly bean, and it'll either be a good flavor or a bad flavor. And, so what I did was I took a box of Bean Boozled and put it into a bag, so I would not know which is good and which is bad. And my plan was to go around and give them to people and say that they're normal jelly beans, and then see their face when they get completely grossed out eating a barf flavor of rotten eggs. And the day didn't start off too well, so at the beginning of school, when classes hadn't started yet, I tried a couple people. They didn't fall for it, but there was a couple people who did fall for it. Well, actually, no one fell for it, but they did it anyway for some reason. First, the best one I can think of from that time was Zach. You know, he's the one that fell into the water the second time. And, it's really weird. Tried to climb onto a tree to try to get snakeskin, aka bubble wrap. So, what he did was he took a barf or peach and, like, put little slits into it. Like, he just broke it open with his finger and, tasted it a little bit and said, "This is peach." He puts it in his mouth. I stand corrected. So, it was pretty funny. So, the next thing that happened was I still had a bunch of jelly beans, and it was first shower, and luckily we went out into the pod because there's testing, and my teacher's also a ELA teacher, so they're all facing a wall instead of a smartboard, so we had to go out in the pod and use a whiteboard there, and that's where all the lockers are. So I got the most people in that hour. It was so good. And I got people, so I got, my first victim was Reese. Shout out to his channel, Reese Pesek. And I told him, like, "Hey dude, you want some jelly beans?" He's like, "Oh, yes, I love jelly beans." And so I went to my locker, and I did this every time, so yeah. I went to my locker, got some jelly beans, gave it to him. He eats a couple, and he then says to me, he looks at me and says, "Are these Bean Boozled?" I'm like, April Fools! And then he goes to the trash can, spits them out, and drinks some water. It was pretty good. So, my next victims were pretty normal. It's kind of just, hey, you want some jelly beans? Yeah, I'll have some. Eat some. So, yeah. Gets grossed out, basically, yeah. Another victim was not one of my main friends, so I will not state his name. And, so I gave him 4. Oh, and what I did to prove that these weren't the gross Bean Boozled ones was I took one, put it in my mouth, put it in the middle of my mouth, and started chewing, and then swallowed it whole, like a pill. So, that's what I did to prove it. And so he saw me doing that, and he's like, okay, I'll have some. He takes 3, and they were all bad ones. and he makes this face. It was really, really funny. So, he does that, and yes. Next were this past 2 victims before, and, next was actually one more person, and same thing. I actually didn't see his reaction, so that was sad. But the next 2 victims were like, were previous ones, and they were like, hey, can I have some more? For some reason, they wanted more. So, and my final victim also wanted more. So they were sitting near the lockers, and I'm like, okay, fine. I go get 5 jelly beans, and I'll give it to them and say, here, share these. And one of them, he takes all 5 of them and puts them in his mouth, and he starts screaming because it tastes so bad. And my teacher is like, hey, stop screaming. You're in trouble now. So, and I don't know if this is true, but he says that he went to the bathroom and puked a little. So, that was funny. My next victims were at lunch. Well, actually, before I go back, so the rest of my class did this big prank on the school, okay? And basically what they did was just set their alarms for a time where there's no testing. Like I said, there was testing going on. So there's no testing in that time. It was basically homeroom, just in the middle of the day. And, so there's no testing at the time. It was at, like, the end of class where everyone was going out and going to their electives. And a bunch of alarms go off. Like, a lot of people did this. And one of the teachers comes over and says, everyone who set an alarm, sit down. And they got in I was not one of those people, so I didn't get in trouble. So I don't know exactly what happened. But there were so many people that got in trouble. It was weird. Okay, so back to the Bean Boozled. So I went to lunch, and one of my friends that I already pranked before was at my lunch table, so I asked him, so I told him my secret, and I'm like, hey dude, swallow them as whole, and then you won't taste anything. So you, to the lunch table, can you prove to me that, can you try to prove to them that they're fine? And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So at lunch, I bring the bag of jelly beans, like, hey, so, you guys want a present? Here's some jelly beans. And they knew it was going to be that, and I'm like, so I'm doing the whole, like, swallow it whole thing, and my friend's doing it too, and one person's and so one of them ate it to try to prove me wrong, to say that they're good, and completely spit up in the trash can. And one person just kept on taking it, so it was pretty funny. And sooner or later, like, they kept on saying that they got good ones. Obviously, they're lying. So eventually they got spoiled milk and just couldn't handle it anymore. And just, made the face, was really grossed out too. And my last story was, I had like 6 or 7 left, and I gave the rest of them to my friend, because, she wanted them. And she was giving them to other people too. And a lot of people were like, oh, God, dude, what is this? And the last one was, so I got a little bit back, and the one teacher that has a sense of humor was my last hour teacher. And so I say, so since it's testing, she's like, does anyone have to go take a drink and go to the bathroom? So I come up in line, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to go to the bathroom, but first, you want a jelly bean? And she's like, are these one of the bad ones? And I'm like, no. But she obviously knows since she's a teacher. So, and she's like, oh, heck with it. And she just eats it, and she's chewing it there, and she's like, that's gross. Oh, that's nasty. And it was a pretty fun day. So, yeah, that's basically the story time today. Oh, wow, this lasted longer than I thought. Alright, so see you guys later. Hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!